Thank you for tuning in to this episode of Down at the Dock Mod Edition. Today we're going to do an unboxing video of a brand new 4-bladed stainless steel prop. So let's talk about props for a minute. First off, why did I buy a second prop? So I own a boat. I'm gonna ding the prop. It's gonna happen. It happened on our last boat several times. If you have a boat in the water, unexpected things happen. I want a spare, right? Because when you ding the prop, you can either have them repaired or you can have them replaced. Both of those take time. It's time out of the water. It's always great to have a spare prop lying around. So I thought, well, if I go to spare prop, I could just go with the same prop that's on the boat. It's a Yamaha stainless steel prop. It's a 15 3/4 at 15 pitch for it. So I've done a bunch of testing with the 3-bladed stainless props, so I know how our boat actually operates. In the factory, obviously, I had Yamaha do a bunch of testing, so we have what the factory specs are with a boat that's not loaded, you know, for like camping on the weekend, like what we leave our boat for. So I went shopping for another prop. I was looking at different options, and ran across PowerTech. A little bit funny story behind the PowerTech prop. A friend of ours, Mike, won a PowerTech prop at an auction. It was a charity auction, and he worked with them to size it and stuff. And he had an R27 outboard, same boat as we do, and put it on, and he loved it, right? So when Mike sold his boat, when he upgraded to a 31-foot Ranger Tug, he ended up selling the 4-bladed prop. Bob, who bought the 4-bladed prop, contacted me and said, "Hey, if you want to borrow it, do some testing with it, you're welcome to." All right, so I got to spend 2 weeks over 4th of July with the 4-bladed PowerTech prop. And we're going to do an unboxing video of it and swap the prop out. We're over here at Dagmar's, and I'll show you how easy it is to swap the prop, you know, on the boat. So differences in props. So props are more of an educated guess when you go sizing them for the boat. There's no one size fits all or one size fits most. It's basically you work with the propeller manufacturer about the kind of boat you have, the horsepower, the type of hull it is, how you use the boat, what you want to get out of the prop. They look at all that, they make an educated guess, they say, "Here, try this," and then you go run it and see what happens. Luckily for me, Bob let me borrow that prop, so I got to actually go out and play with it. There's no smoking gun. The prop is not going to double my miles per gallon. That's unrealistic to think about that. Differences between the props, you know, when you go with more blades, the prop gets more balanced, so it's smoother. Inside the prop, there's a hub that's a cushioning hub that helps when you get in gear and out of gear. I found the PowerTech to be a little bit smoother on shifting in and out than the 3-blade was. Props obviously come in, you know, usually aluminum or stainless. Stainless doesn't flex as much, so it bites and gives you a lot more performance out of it than, say, an aluminum prop would. That being said, if you hit something solid, you probably do more damage with a stainless prop than you would with an aluminum prop. That's the con to that, but the cushioning hub is supposed to help against some of that. So the two main objectives I was looking to get out of a 4-blade prop over the 3-blade was I wanted better control at slower speeds for docking, and specifically in reverse. It would help to have 4 blades in reverse, and I noted when I used the prop for the 2 weeks I had it, I noticed that was improved quite a bit. The other thing is hole shot, being able to pop up on plane. When you get out there on the water, a lot of the bigger boats, the 40, 50 footers, they'll throw like a 3 or 4 foot wake, and I don't want to jump the wake. It's uncomfortable for the passengers and stuff, so I'll pop off a plane, bob through the 4-foot wake, and then you want to hit the throttles and get back up on plane. The auto glide helps a lot in getting up on plane, but a 4-bladed prop also helps even more with that hole shot. Now there's always trade-offs. You know, there's no perfect prop. When you do more blades on the prop, that's more surface area, that's more friction. That means you could lose miles per gallon. So on the top end speed, I see slightly less fuel efficiency. At the low end speed, because I do get more grip and less slip, I get a little bit better fuel efficiency. And the top end speed of the boat drops a little bit because of the extra friction from the extra blade. Right, so it's all a balancing act. What I found is I lost, I think it was almost 2 knots of top end speed, which is easily given up to be able to gain better hole shot and gain a little bit better fuel efficiency at the slower speeds. The other thing I was looking at is in rougher water, I'd like to have more blades of the prop in the water for more control, more bite into the water, to have better control through rougher seas. And I spend most of our time, you know, cruising, not at the top end. I don't do wide open throttle very often, so losing a couple knots off the top end isn't that big a deal. The other telltale sign of if a prop is sized correctly for the boat is this. This is really important. You don't want to over prop or under prop your boat. This is what any prop manufacturer would work with you on to make sure this happens. Is specifically the Yamaha F300 has a wide open throttle of anywhere between 5,000 and 6,000 RPM. So if I put too small of a prop on there and the RPM went to 6,200, I'd be exceeding the limits of the engine. You don't want to do that. In addition, the max horsepower rating of the F300 is right at 5,500 RPM. So ideally, you'd have a prop that wide open throttle has to be within that range. And what I found was the four-bladed prop actually wide open throttle is right at 5,600. So it's almost, in my opinion, it's a really good fit for the RT27 outboard. So after I took it off and gave the prop back to Bob and thanked him graciously for letting me borrow it, I went and ordered mine. They don't make them until you order them. So that was back in early July when I ordered it, and it just came in this last week. So that was, you know, we're talking almost 2 months waiting for it to show up. But it's here, so we're going to go and swap that prop on, and then we're going to put the boat back in the water, and I'll use the 3-blade stainless as my spare. Alright, so first thing I'm going to do is take out the cotter pin. I hate cotter pins, but without a cotter pin, this wheel will fall off. So they're very important. So I found this tool, cotter pin tool, is actually worth its weight in gold. It does help quite a bit in pulling the cotter pin out. This is what the cotter pin looks like installed. We're going to pull this out, unscrew the bolt, or the nut rather. The whole thing comes off, put some grease on the new prop, and that's it. They're really easy to replace. And also never reuse a cotter pin.
People do, don't they?
You don't reuse them. This cotter pin falls off, your prop will fall off and end up at the bottom of the ocean.
They're not that expensive, are they?
Cotter pins are not, no. Props are.
Yes, they are.
Ta-da. Throw that one away. Then we got to loosen the prop nut. It's a 27mm socket and a little bit of leverage. And you also need a block of wood. So this is the factory prop, Yamaha Saltwater Series.
YouTube problems.
They're moving a lot of boats today.
They are. It's nice.
Factory prop. It's a 15 3/4, 15 pitch. This only fits on one way. You don't want to put this on backwards, right? So make sure you put it back the way it came. It actually won't fit the other way. I always clean this off. The other thing, when you take the prop off, look for fishing line or anything like that that may get wrapped around here.
That you may
that you might have picked up, wrapped around. Right, you don't want anything on here. So I always clean it off really good, and then you go ahead and coat it with a thin film of marine grease. Really important to do that. Not a thick coat, just a thin coat all the way around it.
Is that like a sealant? Kind of seals it?
To keep the parts from sticking together. Makes them easier to take apart in the future. Remember, the only thing that's not negatively affected by seawater is seawater.
Sure.
vent. Alright, so now we get down to the unboxing. So here, zoom in. There's the part numbers. That's what I ordered. That's the size. So the factory was a 15 3/4. This one's a 15 1/4. So it took off a ½ inch. And the pitch is 15 on the factory prop and the new 4-bladed. So same pitch. 4-bladed prop, standard rotation, stainless steel from PowerTech. It comes with a cushion hub. Obviously you want the cushion hub for the Yamaha. They make them for Mercury and other brands. You want to make sure you get the right cushion hub so it fits the spline correctly. Talk briefly about cost of the two props. To replace that saltwater prop, Parts Few had it for about $670. The PowerTech prop was actually less expensive. I want to say it was like $560 or $580 total. So they were comparable in cost. There she is. Of course it fits. All nice and shiny. Don't even have any fingerprints on it. No, maybe one fingerprint. There's your difference. There's a hole that goes right through the shaft. You want to know where that hole is, because that's where the cotter pin's got to go. And the castle nut, you've got to line up these holes with where that hole is to get the cotter pin to stick back in. So you get it on there tight, and then you either have to tighten a little bit more or a little bit less to get that hole to line up for the cotter pin to go through. Need a block of wood as well to stop it. A little bit more. Right there. And where did I buy the prop from? Getaprop.com, which is actually our company based out of Anacortes, which is local to us. Ordered it through there, and then they placed the order with PowerTech, who actually built it. And then PowerTech, it's shipped directly from PowerTech's factory. Once the cotter pin's in, and you bend it so that it doesn't come out. That's all it has to do. That keeps the nut from spinning. There you go. We're ready to go back in the water. We're just leaving Dagmar's. Got a new PowerTech 4-bladed stainless prop on. The prop is a lot smoother than the 3-blade. Not that the 3-blade was rough, but just when you add that extra blade, the prop balances itself better. And then the PowerTech hub, their cushioning hub, is also, I think, a little bit softer than the Yamaha one. So sometimes it's a little bit different feel putting it into gear. I don't have that clunk that I normally would have with the Yamaha. I actually like that better. But it grabs so much better on the slow speed water.
You get more directional with it?
It's more responsive. And we're going to take this out over here, go out back by Everett, and play with it a little bit. You're familiarized with it. It's going from the 3-blade to the 4-blade is not a major change to the boat. Here's a little background. Our last boat was a Maxim open bow boat. It was a wakeboard boat, 22 foot, and it came with a 3-blade aluminum prop on it. And we had that kind of funny story. My dad actually ran our boat aground on Father's Day. What do you do if your father runs your boat, your brand new boat aground on Father's Day? You laugh about it, what you do, which we did. Of course, I didn't know how expensive the props were. It turns out that aluminum prop was $125 to replace. It was $80 to have it repaired. But what did I do? I went down and bought a 5-blade high-5 stainless prop for the Mercury inboard I had, and it was a whole new boat with that 5-blade prop.
I really think that was a setup to get the 5-blade prop, but that's okay. What do I?
No, the whole shot was so much better on that boat. The balance, the vibration went away. I mean, it was just all around huge improvement. Drastic. Like, literally, it was like two different boats going from that 3-blade aluminum to a 5-blade stainless. Now, obviously, on a Ranger Tug, we're going from a 3-blade stainless to a 4-blade stainless. It's not nearly as profound of a difference. It's just minor subtleties that make the difference. But here and again, my main reason was I want two props because I own a boat. I'm going to ding the prop eventually, and when I do, I just want to swap, put the other one on, send the one out for repair. We made it just in the nick of time. That is them.
That's saying we're closing the bridge.
They were closing that train bridge. Oh my God, we spent so much time waiting on that bridge. Sweet, just in the nick of time. And there goes the bridge closing. Let me get out of the way. I would time that good. I hate that bridge. The highway bridge we can go under, no problem, but the railroad bridge, it may be at low tide. If I lowered the mast, I could get through it, but I would never be up there at low tide anyway, because then it'd be challenging getting out and off the boat ramp, and up around the corner by Jetty Island would be challenging. So, yeah, so that train bridge is closed. We got to wait for it. Yeah, so having two props I think is essential to have, just that way you can swap out one quickly if you ding the one. You know, you don't necessarily have to run aground either to ding the prop. I mean, obviously, low tide, you can hit something, you can hit a deadhead underwater. You know, that can get the prop out of balance if that happens. You know, sizing of the prop is somewhat of an educated guess and a little bit of trial and error. Some best guesstimates, effectively. But this 4-blade is sized really good with the R27 outboard specifically. You know, and that the wide open throttle is right around 5,600 RPM, and the max horsepower out of the engine is right at 5,500 RPM. So that's right in the sweet spot to maximize the engine without over-propping or under-propping. If you enjoy our videos and have not yet subscribed, please consider doing so, because it really helps us out a lot. And if you're new to our channel, enjoy, and thanks for watching. Yeah, we're out here just around Hat Island, testing the 4-blade prop. So we've had it on now for a couple of months. Haven't done a whole lot of trips with it and stuff, but fortunately we got to test it before I even bought the prop. So why did I go with the second prop, right? So first off, a couple things I was trying to achieve is I wanted a spare prop. We owned a boat before, and when you own a boat, it's not a matter of if you ding your prop, it's a matter of when. So when I ding my prop, I wanted to have a spare to swap on. Fortunately, the outboard makes it really easy to do that, to swap props out. It's all about 10-15 minutes worth of work. Not too tough. So if I needed a spare prop, I could have just bought another 3-bladed stainless, you know, the Yamaha prop. I will say, in comparison of the 3-blade to the 4-blade prop, if you're looking for fuel efficiency, I think the 3-blade's probably going to win out overall, but it really depends on your driving, right, and how you use your boat. The 3-blade prop is going to be more fuel efficient at cruising speeds. The 4-blade prop is going to be more fuel efficient at slow boat speeds. So we're basically going less than 10 knots. So you balance that out between your style of boating to see if it really matters. But for me, fuel efficiency wasn't the #1 thing I was looking for in a prop. Right, so it's like, what are your objectives for repropping the boat? Me, I wanted a spare. Was one. Looking at my list of stuff, you know, we often run heavier. I've got crab pots in the back, shrimp pots in the back. You know, I've got the kicker, I've got the extra batteries. you know, so that the stern of the boat ends up being heavier, and I wanted to get the back of the boat out of the water. The auto glide helps actually quite a bit with stern lift to help get on plane quicker, and a 4-bladed prop over the 3-blade definitely helps with hole shot. So the combination between the 4-blade and the auto glide, literally I can be cruising 25 knots and there's a big wake from another large ship. I pop the boat back into neutral, I bob through the big, you know, 4 or 5 foot wake. So like on the other side, I just hit the throttles down and I'm back up on plane again. I don't need a long runway and stuff anymore. That's hugely important to me. It makes the ride so much easier and nicer when you're out, you know, because when you're cruising around, especially San Juan's and Puget Sound, you're always looking for large wakes from those bigger boats that push a lot of water off their bow. The 4-blade provides a wider band of operating speeds up on plane, which includes slower speeds. I'm actually able to stay on plane at like 15 knots. You know, I could never do that with the 3-blade. The 3-blade prop pretty much 10 knots or slower, and probably at 21, 22 knots or faster. The 4-blade, I can actually drop it down to about 14, 15 knots and still stay on plane. To work with it, I find that I have to get myself on plane, so I got to go like, you know, 20, 25 knots, and then I can back off on the throttle, and the boat's already on plane, and it will stay on plane down to about 14, 15 knots. That's kind of cool. When we were coming back from the unofficial rendezvous there at Roach Harbor in September, I was able to keep up with the R31, you know, up on plane and cruise right alongside them. We were going through Deception Pass with Carpium, and that was pretty cool. And then fuel efficiency, we traveled from Everett up to Roach Harbor and back with some friends of ours in Thistledown. Same R27 outboard, theirs is a year newer, and they've got the dinghy lift on the back, so I mean their stern's probably equally as heavy as what ours would be, with the extra stuff we have, you know, extra batteries and kicker and stuff. But 120 nautical miles round trip from Everett to Roach Harbor and back, and I burnt 10 more gallons of gas than they did, right? But 95% of that trip was all spent doing 25 knots, right? And there was actually a part of that trip where we actually did hit a 4-foot wake, and if you haven't watched that rendezvous video, I encourage you to, because that spot where we call it Big Wake, you can see the boat where all I did was pull it back to neutral, bob through the wake, hit the throttles back down, and I was back up on plane again, which was really nice. Other things the 4-blade gives me: reverse thrust improvement. Right, so when I want to back up, I get more bite in the water on that. The cushion hub of the PowerTech prop I like better than the Yamaha's, which is not to say the Yamaha is bad. It's just that when I go and put it in gear, it's a softer click of engaging when that prop starts to turn. The 4-blade feels a little more balanced than 3-blade, which is very typical. The more blades you put on a prop, the more balanced it will come, and then that's less vibration you'll feel in the boat. Here and again, not saying the 3-blade is negative at all. There's just differences between the 3-blade and the 4-blade. And overall, better grip at slower speeds with the 4-blade. That's pretty important to us. We don't always cruise at 25 knots. I know in our videos you see a lot of that because we're destination boaters. But when we're out crabbing, we're out shrimping, all that is slow speed maneuverability, right? So if I can grab you know, more control, less slippage, that's always an advantage to have. Also for rougher seas, right? Because we do our best to avoid rough seas, but when you find yourself in them, any edge you can get to make sure that the prop's grabbing that water, so you can maintain control, bobbing up and down through the waves, is pretty important. So if you haven't yet, I would encourage you to look at the 2 tables that I put together, you know, that show the speed, RPMs of the boat, and you know, miles per gallon, and fuel efficiencies and gallons per hour and stuff, and compare that between how your boating needs are and see if it's the right prop for you. Another thing the 4-blade prop will help a lot with is biting into the water at slower speeds, which helps on docking. You know, better control in reverse, more grab in reverse than the 3-blade, as well as forward as well for directional, as you're using the suicide knob back and forth to manipulate the boat into dock. You know, some interesting things we've ran into is like going up to Dagmars. There's that railroad bridge. And when that bridge closes, it's 45 minutes to an hour that you're sitting there waiting for it to open. You know, and I would sit there and play with the boat in reverse, and I would just match it to where I could basically almost hover, literally in one spot, have the boat just in reverse because the river's flowing, and match that speed so that the boat just kind of doesn't really move a whole lot waiting out the train. That was actually pretty cool with the 4-blade being able to do that. I could do it also with the 3-blade, but I've had to do it twice now, one with each of them. There's a pretty big difference in reverse with the 4-blade over the 3. But here again, that's not saying the 3-blade is a bad prop either. It's just something different for, you know, however, you know, for how you may boat. And if you have any questions, please feel free to leave them in the comment section below or shoot me an email. And again, thanks for watching. Stay tuned for more channel surfing.